there's a perch. That's a good sign. Alright, so what I'm doing out here, I've been walking along Rockaway Beach here. I started all the way down there, and now I'm here, and no fish. It's really tough. I've been casting 2 flies this entire time, and I just switched my gear to cast only 1, and I think that's going to help a lot, and I switched to a different type of fly. I started fishing right at low tide, maybe 15 minutes after low tide. High tide's at 10 p.m. I don't know if I'm going to stay out here till 10. Right now it's almost 6, so it's another 4 hours till high tide. Sunset's at 8, so I got 2 hours really until sunset. The fly I'm using right now is this little surf perch fly. It's basically a woolly bugger, short tail, Estaz body, red collar, and then big dumbbell plated eyes. The idea is so that when it lands, it sinks down to the bottom, and as I scooter it along, hopefully in a surf perch's face, they eat it. But I think I've walked, I'll have to check it when I get home, but I think I've walked like a mile, maybe more, in the last 2 hours. And that's casting and then taking a couple steps, casting and taking a couple steps. Some parts I've just skipped over because there is families or kids or people playing in the water, and they don't need a guy whipping a fly rod around. Most people have never seen a fly rod, so they don't know how to react around it, so I try to always give them a wide berth. The one thing I have been paying attention to, though, is the troughs. So as the waves crash, you can see one crashing out here now. See the big one there? That's creating a pretty big trough, but we're not going all the way out there. You're looking for these smaller waves that hit the water when they crash, and they kick up the sand. And the idea is that they're supposed to kick up the mole crabs, and these mole crabs are what the surf perch eat. It's like 90% of their diet is these mole crabs. And then the surf perch work their way up and down these troughs that the waves create. And in this water here, about knee deep, knee thigh deep, and they hope to grab a crab. Now the trick with this is there's not something that they associate with besides those troughs, and there's literally hundreds of miles of it along the Oregon coast and along the California and Washington coast. So you really have no idea where these fish are at any given time. And you're just kind of at the mercy of luck to find them. Certain beaches have different characteristics. So Rockaway Beach here, just north of Tillamook, its characteristic is shallow. It's a relatively shallow beach, which is safer. I just dropped a cast, which is safer because there's no big drop off to worry about. Let me see here. It's safer for fly fishermen to wade out. Typically you don't need to wade out very far because you're using a conventional tackle. You've dug up sand shrimp or those mole crabs on the beach, and now you're just casting with conventional tackle with a weight. And generally that's fine. I'm sure it catches a lot of fish, but as a fly angler, we don't get that luxury. We have to we don't get a cast this far, theoretically. But I'm only about knee deep. Cast it over there, and what I'm hoping is the trough where the fish are. And I'm either slowly, sometimes quickly, but mostly slowly pulling my fly back and letting my sinking line and my fly take everything down. And hoping that a fish shows up. The one thing I can feel good about, and what I'm banking on, is everyone who surf perch fishes says the trick with it is once you find the fish, they're pretty consistent after that. You can have great numbers. That's why limits are really high. So in Oregon, you can keep right now 15 surf perch a day. That's a lot of fish, especially when these things get big, like 16, 18 inches long. But like, that's a good wave. We want to get over the top of that with a cast. The main reason I'm stripping and walking back is to maintain contact. But because these fish are moving quickly in between these troughs and these waves, you should know that you have a bite on pretty fast. It's not like a rockfish or a smallmouth maybe. It's more similar to something like, on the East Coast they have a fish called a pompano. They just kind of grab your fly and go. But I'm just maintaining tension right now. That's the whole idea. I'm kind of hoping to get in the right place, right time. They say as the sun falls, what you can see sometimes is the fish actually moving through the waves. So I've been looking for that. The only fish I've seen so far is I did see one surf perch. It was maybe 5 inches long. And it was right off my rod tip when I first started. I'd seen something like a sand dabber, some kind of small sculpin looking fish. And that's it. So not much life so far. But that doesn't mean they're not here. Which means I haven't found them yet. So if you plan to do this, and it's something you're interested in trying yourself here out on the Oregon coast, you can do this in California, in the northern area, basically from the Bay Area north, from what I can tell, and then all the way up through Washington as well. At least here in Oregon, I'd really recommend waders. The water's not super cold. It's probably in the low 50s from what I can gather. It's probably pretty similar to air temp for the most part. But as the day progresses, it's going to get colder and colder, so I'm glad I have waders on. I wouldn't wear nice boots out here, anything you don't want ruined. So I'm wearing Corker shoes with no studs or anything in them. They're the Corker's like wet wading shoes. They fit right into my booties. They're a little snug, but nothing terrible. Waders, I got a stripping basket. I used the A-Rex stripping basket. It's the same as the Loon. I think Loon copied A-Rex's. Shrimp Ice has a stripping basket that's decent. You can make your own, but you need a stripping basket, mostly because you have sinking line and you don't want it to get tangled around your feet and get swept away in the waves. They'll just make it really hard to cast. I also have a waterproof backpack, which isn't required, but it's highly recommended. Because any of these bigger waves that come by and splash me, I know they're not going to get my gear wet. And then some layers. Like I said, the water's cold, but it's not freezing. And the air temp right now is like 55. So again, not cold, not freezing. I mean, not warm, but not freezing. I'm using an 8 weight, makes it easier to cast for sure. And I'm using my same jetty setup that I normally use. So 8 weight rod, this is the Echo EPR, but any 8 weight rod would work. Preferably a salt safe one. And then I'm using a Redington Behemoth. I probably wouldn't, if this ends up being good and I want to keep doing it, I'll probably end up getting a sealed drag system reel, so like a Lamson. That's probably what I'll go with. But right now, Behemoth works fine. I'll rinse it off when I get back to the car. I picked up a trick from the Caddisfly shop using, I went to Home Depot and bought a weed sprayer, one of those pump it yourself weed sprayers, and just filled it full of water. Just drinking water, tap water. And that way I can spray off my waders, my shoes, my reel, my rod, everything. I let it dry on the way home. And then I'm using a 20-pound tippet on my leader. Same leader I use for jetty fishing, 25-pound butt, 20-pound head, or tippet. And then like I said, oh, the line. Still, it's a 5.3i line from Scientific Angler. I've always loved this line. It's built on their Titan taper, I believe. As you can see, it casts pretty well. And as far as flies go, there's not a lot out there. If you look up surf and perch flies, you're going to see a few things here and there, but not a ton. It's pretty tough. That being said, you want a heavy fly, so either plated lead eyes, or heavy brass eyes, or tungsten eyes, if you're willing to pay for tungsten nowadays. And something either shrimp, crab colored, so something gray, like tan gray, something the same color as the beach, or or something really bright, chartreuse, red, orange, something along those lines. So I've talked about the fishing, talked about the gear. The other thing is some safety stuff. So I'm not going out very far for safety reasons. The further you go out, the more dangerous it gets. It's kind of an exponential curve on that. Like that. And there's no real need to do that. As you can see, it's not like I'm catching more fish than the guy next to me. The other thing is you never want to turn your back on the ocean. It's usually when things go wrong. You're out here casting, you fire off a nice cast, you turn around and you start walking back with your back to the ocean, and that's when the wave comes through and knocks you down. Then once you're knocked down, it's really hard to get back up. So you want good wading gear. You want to have your wits about you. Don't want to be drinking or using anything else. You just kind of want to be moseying along. It'd also be good. I have safety stuff in my backpack. But stuff like a whistle, glow stick, headlamp, those are all good things to have. And the last thing I have is I have my phone on me, obviously, for pictures and listen to music or a podcast or something. But also I have my location turned on, so my fiance knows where I am if she wants to see, and she can see that I'm just on the beach just fine. So that's a good safety thing, especially with iPhones nowadays. With the location services, it's pretty accurate. Plus they now all have satellite capabilities, and when you're somewhere like the beach or the Oregon coast, whatever you want to call it, you get free unobstructed views of the skies. So it's really nice for, you know, satellite coverage. That's pretty cool. Some pelicans flying out over there. That's the only animal life I've seen out here on their own. Has been pelicans, a couple gulls, a couple crows on the beach. There's a couple crows over there. But like those people you see there, those are the only people I've seen in hours. There's nobody out here. As the light continues to fade, and we're kind of just left with what we're left with, the GoPro will not be able to shoot in low light, unfortunately. It is really terrible, as you guys have probably can tell from my other videos. That being said, if I do catch a fish, I'll insert a picture now. I'll take it with my cell phone or something. But if I do catch a fish and the light's still out,